Welcome to Mission, British Columbia, population 40,000 and growing. Like many cities in the Lower Mainland, Mission is close to Vancouver, but it also has its own unique urban, rural, and suburban communities. Recently, the District of Mission has shown signs of economic progress due to the housing boom, as Vancouver families move deeper into the valley. Situated along the picturesque Fraser River, there are plenty of opportunities for recreation and relaxation. Mission could simply be seen as just another bedroom community, but when you look closer, a story emerges, quite literally on the buildings of our city. But more importantly, whose story is front and center? Does this story include everyone's truth or merely the dominant narrative? Whose worldview is reflected in the places we go to learn about our shared history? What authorities contributed to the making of this story and have largely upheld this same worldview? It's important to ask these questions because these institutions shape the way we look at ourselves, our community, and our fellow human beings. We then name our parks, buildings, and streets in the shadow of these stories, and then we share this with the rest of Turtle Island. But there is another story of Mission, and this story has not been widely told until quite recently. And it doesn't fit into the way that we see ourselves as a peaceful, pluralistic democracy. Behind the tall trees overlooking the Fraser River stands the two sites of St. Mary's Indian Residential School. These sites bear witness to some of the darkest chapters of our shared history. For generations, Indigenous children were apprehended from their homes and taken to this place to, quote, kill the Indian in the child. Indeed, these residential schools did great harm to the Indigenous peoples, severing the bonds between countless families, cultures, languages, and ways of living in our world. The abuses were many, prolonged, and continue to present social challenges that we face today. This story has recently come to light due to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and is now finally making its way into the mainstream dominant narrative. We are now coming to understand why our city is called Mission after the Mission on the Hill. Prompted by the TRC's 94 calls to action, Trustee Randy Cairns asked our elders and survivors if they would be willing to share their stories of St. Mary's to ensure that the truth be made available to the wider community. After 2 years of meetings, our elders did just that. They took district staff, Mayor and Council, RCMP top brass, and our local Member of Parliament and community members to St. Mary's and shared their truth. This experiential learning was paramount in shifting some misperceptions and biases of many of the attendees. One by one, our elders also agreed to be filmed and recorded to ensure that their stories of truth will live on forever. We then gathered educational leaders to create a digital resource that outlined our elders' 4 big ideas: pre-contact, residential schools, reconciliation, and worldviews. Throughout this process, we consulted and worked alongside our thriving and vibrant Indigenous communities. We were also honored to work alongside Gwen Point and Stalo Nation to ensure that we were providing authentic materials and following appropriate protocols. The truth was then coming to light from a number of avenues and from places that have not always had the spotlight. We are now able to share this gift from our elders with our district staff, parents, but most importantly, for our students. We can now provide them with a richer and more truthful narrative so that they may bring about the social change needed to ensure that we all live up to the 94 calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Where you are right now was a residential school.
Neil Phillips was a student at St. Mary's in Mission.
20 years. That's when the last one was closed. That was not that long ago.